In this video, I'm going to walk through how you can make a six-figure online course business outline using AI. So I've not been the biggest fan of AI up until this point. It's obviously a useful tool, or the more you understand it, the more you can get more out of it. But certainly in my industry, in terms of like creating and selling online courses or selling information in general, I've kind of steered away from it, at least up till this point, because in my industry, I've seen people that have used AI in the wrong way, essentially, where they'll want to teach a topic in a course, but they've never figured out and learnt the topic themselves. They've gone on to use AI to, get a course structure and some training, put that into a course and sold it without ever actually having to do or learn the thing that they're teaching in the course in the first place, which is insane, obviously. From an ethical standpoint, it's just ludicrous, and you can't viably teach something to other people if you haven't done it yourself. So that's the underlying preface before we even get into anything, is if you're going to use a tool like AI, which I'm going to show you, you must know what you're doing first. And we're going to use AI just to kind of reinforce what you already know, and then use the advantages of AI to show us a structure and show us things that we maybe didn't consider teaching that we already knew, but just let it kind of be an aid to what we're planning on doing, which is make an online course in the first place. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been making my own courses for a long time, and I've also been helping a lot of people create their own courses for a long time as well. And it must be rooted in the truth of your knowledge that you've done up to this point, that you know that you're comfortable teaching what you know to other people. That is it. That has to be the first step before we even explore using AI, of course. If you know a thing, you know something of worth that you can teach other people, but you're struggling to kind of articulate that or get that down into a valid course structure, or you're just stuck for a few ideas of what you could teach, this is what we're going to use AI for today. That's it. So up until this point, I've been using a AI wrapper called Perplexity, not rapper, but it basically uses different AI platforms and kind of wraps them into one service like this. So it uses different types of AI softwares, and it's what I've been using for the last couple of weeks, really. More so from a health perspective, I've been using it for kind of a lot of deep research, finding articles and putting together protocols and plans and stuff for my own personal journey, versus using it for online courses. But the last few days, certainly I've been looking at giving it what's called I'm calling it a Parnell litmus test, really, just to see if it passes my own understanding of how it could help me if I was to make an online course from scratch. So that's all the waffle out the way. Now, as an example, what I'm going to do here, so I'm not going to use it as an example of what I teach in my own program, which is helping people create and sell online courses. Obviously, that's the full spectrum thing, from idea through to marketing, through to selling, through to the entire spectrum. And you can only teach that having done it for a decade. I've looked, you can't really teach or at least learn what I'm teaching on AI, because it doesn't have the context, it doesn't have the experience and the nuances needed to teach most things subjectively and properly, basically. But what I'm doing is I'm going to use AI. I'm going to use an example course that I could make based off experience in a different industry that I have entirely. So my background as a hobby is a astrophotographer. I take pictures of space, deep space usually. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I know it inside and out, definitely. I'm still learning, of course, but I know enough that for a complete beginner coming into astrophotography, taking photos of space and planets and stuff, I definitely know enough that I could help someone coming into this space. So theoretically, if I was going to do an online course, I would start to just reverse engineer all the things that I know that they would need, from understanding what gear they need, understanding what they want to target, and what gear they need to target those particular things. Like if you want to take a photo of a planet, or you want to take a photo of the moon, or you want to take a photo of a huge nebula, or something huge and wide in space, you need different gear, different telescopes, different camera types to achieve these certain goals. And that's what I would teach, all these nuances, all these different things. But with that in mind, what I've gone ahead is I've pre-written a pretty brief rundown of what I'd want to use AI for. Obviously, the more you use AI, the more you kind of questions you feed back into it, the better it gets. But I've pre-written out just a very, very brief summary of what I want to achieve in terms of teaching AI. And we'll see. So I pre-wrote it out so you're not seeing me type it out for ages. But a brief summary is I want to create an online course that teaches astrophotography. I want to cover what equipment will be needed based on the astrophotographer's goal. Certain telescopes will only work for certain targets, so I will need to cover what telescope, camera mount, and other equipment they will need. Again, this is based off my own knowledge and experience because I know it. If I wanted to teach this but I'd never done it all before, I'd be going in blind. I'd just be like, I want to make an online course for astrophotographers. What should I teach? It doesn't get any broader than that because I don't know what it's going to tell me. And the goal here is to give it this brief, and then based off its outcome, I can then confirm, A, if it actually knows what it's talking about, and B, see if it's viable in terms of what I should teach in the online course, and see what ideas it gives me. So then I went on to say, then I want to teach them how to decide what target they want to image based on their location and what is available in the night sky there. Then we will discuss how to spend the night imaging, the full workflow from setting up, how to polar align, set up tracking and start capturing data. Then I want to teach the full processing flow to process their final image. And then I end it with, can you break this down into the modules and lessons of my course curriculum? That's it. I could go much deeper in that, but for the purposes of this exercise, I just want to keep it a bit kind of surface level-y, if that's a word. And then you've got options here. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been using Deep Research for a lot of kind of health-focused stuff. This is good because it only searches basically the internet for published studies and articles. It doesn't trawl just the cesspool of Reddit and random posts and random blogs of people that don't know what they're talking about. That's what Deep Research is for. But for the purpose of what we're doing, we could use Pro or Reasoning as well. So I'm going to stick with Auto for now. It should do the job. So I'm going to let it start processing that. Then it takes a while. It can take between a couple of minutes to 5 minutes sometimes, depending on the depth of what it's searching for. So I'll probably skip ahead. Oh no, it's done. Cool. And this is the outcome. So what it's done is it's given me modules. So module 1, it's given me equipment fundamentals. Module 2, target selection and planning. Module 3, image workflow. Module 4, image processing. Module 5, project-based learning. And then bonus modules. So at a glance, it looks pretty good. What I didn't do is I didn't specify certain softwares or hardware that I personally use. That would make the most sense to me. So I can see here it's recommending something called Nina for the imaging, which I haven't got any experience in, but it has recommended ASI Air Plus, which is what I use. If you're watching this and you've got no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry. Again, this is for nerdy people that want to learn astrophotography, but I'm using this as a guide because it's something that I know. But we'll go back up to module 1. So module 1, equipment fundamentals, types of astrophotography. Then it's got overview of Milky Way, deep sky, planetary and solar imaging, and then matching goals to equipment, budget versus advanced setups. Very cool. Yeah. Lesson 2, telescopes and lenses, refractors versus reflectors, focal length and aperture, and then recommended models for each target. And then lesson 1.3, cameras and sensors, lesson 1.4, mounts and tracking, lesson 1.5, essential accessories, as in guide scopes, cameras, filters, light pollution versus narrowband. Very good. This is a very important topic. Depending on what camera that you have, you will need certain filters and dew heaters and power solutions. So yeah, it's got some good advice, to be honest. These are all things I have to do during the night, or at least things that you have to consider before you even get started in terms of what gear to get. So pretty good. And then module 2, target selection and planning. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just giving you an idea, so to give you a launch pad basically in terms of how you could use AI for your own online course offer, basically. So module 2, target selection and planning, understanding the night sky with seasonal targets, light pollution assessment and moon phases, very important, especially that. Tools for planning, cool. Object difficulty and framing, also very good. So things like Andromeda and the Orion Nebula, the different types of targets that you want to pick. Andromeda, one of my favorites. It's probably my favorite image I've ever taken is of the Andromeda, or certainly one of them. And it's relatively easy to take a photo of versus Orion Nebula, which is still straightforward, but yeah. Cool. And then module 3, imaging workflow. I mean, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that this has given me at least a starting point, a building blocks of a structure. So then what I'll do is I'll just really look at all these in-depth lessons underneath each module and actually think in what order I would teach it, and see if there's any gaps, see if there's any things missing that I'd want to teach. I mean, an example could be, if it's not included, yeah, so it could include things like how to process it to print it, and ways of finding how to print it, what paper you would use, what services you could possibly use to print it and display it. If you wanted to, I've got a few images, I don't think they're in shot, but they're in my office of photos I've taken of space, and then how I would print those off. That's just a bonus supplemental thing that you could teach. But that's the kind of thought process that you need to think of when you're using a tool like AI. Let it do the heavy lifting for you, just to remind you of what you could teach based off your own skill set and knowledge. If it's showing you something that you've not done before, then you obviously wouldn't teach that. You want to learn it first. That's the most critical element of this entire thing. So yeah, there we go. So I'm happy, at least from an initial standpoint. Again, you could then break down of, could you clarify what this means, or could you kind of add in an extra module for something else? Like I could say, could you include a module that talks about how to print it and how to display it, or how to, maybe get it published, that kind of thing. You could do that. And that's what you would do in the bottom here, in the ask a follow-up. I would put, how would I go about getting my final image, reviewed or published or printed and put on display at home or on a gallery, if that was the goal that you wanted to have. Like, what should I do? But it's a very useful tool just to help you dissect your own knowledge and put it into a tangible flow. That's really what I'm doing here. That's the goal of me using AI, just to see, really. So hopefully that's beneficial for you. But again, if you have a course flow like this, and let's say you're ready to start recording it all and ready to sell it, cool, but you need a lot of help. Like, just having the course alone, you can't use AI. AI is not going to sell it for you. AI is not going to put you in front of the correct audience. AI is not going to help you connect with the right people and market it and ultimately get sales if that's your goal, which I'm guessing it is. And AI is still, again, it's a great tool. It's a great ally and asset for us to use, but there's always going to be demand for people actually teaching this stuff, real world people and coaches. Because let's say you buy a course from someone that made it from AI, you get stuck and you have a question, you reach out to the person that bought your course, that you bought the course from. If they don't know what they're doing, they can't give you an answer. If they do know what they're doing, you want to be able to talk to them directly and ask them directly and get coaching from them. That's why there'll always be a demand for people like myself, people like all my clients, about 1,300 people that have been through my current coaching program. There's always going to be a demand for real people teaching this stuff. It's a depressing thought that people will only go onto a 2D screen and use AI to try and learn stuff. If you want to do things properly, you go to an expert and learn directly from them. That's why people come and work with me. That's why all my clients have done really well, because people want to learn from them. And that's what I can help you with. And if anything, AI is going to boost up the price that we can charge. People will pay a premium to work with a real person versus AI. So it's beneficial more than anything else. So with that in mind, if you want to make an online course, certainly go off and have a play around with AI and start to think about and formulate what your online course structure could look like. But if you know you need help with the initial course idea, through to actually getting yourself in front of the right audience, through to marketing it, knowing how to put together things like sales webinars and videos, through to actually actively selling and making money consistently, that's what I specialize in my coaching program, Organic Course Selling Mastery. So if that's something that you want help with, Again, I've been specialized in teaching this stuff for the last 5 years. I've been doing marketing and courses in general for the last decade. If you want help with that, below this video will be a 13-minute video that walks through what I do in my coaching program. And then from there, you'll have the opportunity to jump on a call with me and my team. We'll discuss everything that you're working through. I'm just letting some courier into my house. And then we'll see if your course is viable. If it is, we can use tools like AI to make it a reality. But then on top of that, I will show you actually how to market it from scratch and make sales. That really is it. So below will be a link to that 13-minute video where I just walk through what's in my program and how it can help you. And then it'll give you an opportunity to book that call with my team. And then if it makes sense, we'll work together. If it doesn't make sense, we'll tell you. Either way, it's worth investing some time in strongly considering this, because the online education space is only growing. It's only going up from here, and it's time. If you don't do it, someone else in your industry, in your niche, will come in, swoop in, make a course about the same idea that you have, and they'll sell it before you get to it. So you may as well just strike now while the idea is hot, basically. So again, click below, click on that link, and we'll have a chat and we'll go from there. Talk soon.